All right, adjustments. Adjustments. So on this particular prop, minimum and maximum blade angles can be adjusted. So minimum and max, we're still talking about the Hamilton standard, blade angles. Can be adjusted. Obviously, they have to be adjusted. You can't just ignore that. So this is done. This is done by adjusting stop nuts. Stop nuts located under the counterweight cap. Under the counterweight cap. God, I hope not, because then nobody's going to get it. So I invite you to take a look at the counterweights on the Hamilton standard that we have setting out now. And you can unscrew the counterweight right off of it. And underneath here, you're going to find these bolts with stop nuts on either end. These nuts go up and down. And I don't want to make this a difficult thing because I'm not going to ask you to do it. But, well, I may not write all this. The scale inside the cap is marked in degrees and half degrees. So you got 0 half, 1 half, 2 half, 3 half, and up here 6 half. The numbers are arbitrary and do not correspond to a specific setting. So they're just numbers. You can't just say, well, I want it to be 3.5 this way and 9.5 that way and set these nuts. That, like I said, it's an arbitrary thing. The base setting is stamped inside the cap from the last overhaul. So there's your base setting. And so your base setting, along with these numbers on the side, would actually mean something. So for example, if the blade angles were supposed to be 17 and 22 in this example, let's see if this works out, 17 and 22. So 17 would be high or low pitch?
Low.
Okay. This would be?
High pitch.
Okay. High pitch. And you had a base setting of 25, which we do. Then that would be 25 minus 17 equals 8. So one stop nut would be at 8. And then 25 minus 22 is 3. The other one would be at 3. And so you'd start with that. And then you'd measure it with the prop protractor and then adjust from there. That's all I got to say about that. What do I got here? Inspection. What would we inspect for on this?
Cracks.
Where's it going to crack?
Right on the tips.
Well, I'm going to be worried about rock chips,
On the leading edge.
mostly on the leading edge. Every pre-flight, I run my hand along the leading and trailing edge, feel for any rock chips, dings, dents. It's also important to check the face because you get them on the face too, believe it or not. I don't know why there, but there. The next thing I do is on any sort of adjustable prop that has a hub and a blade, I grab this and I move it back and forth just to see if there's play in it. A little bit up and down too. See if there's, without moving the hub, make sure there's no play in that. There's a little bit is there, but not much. Then I'm going to look for any oil leaks around here. If those seals are going out, that's a good indication you got a significant problem. So any oil staining coming out like that, I'm not flying it. Look for hubs or crack around the hub. Look for oil leaks around here. Now, if you get a little tiny oil leak or something and you're just not sure, you know, on my pre-flight, I always wipe it, you know, make sure. honestly, if you get a propeller that has been sitting around for a long time, like our props out here, and start it up, it's going to be pretty normal to get some oil coming out. I think our 310 is pretty bad. But you wipe it, and then it kind of starts to, seal up because you're moving it inside seals that haven't been worked for a very long time. Make sure that the caps are on properly and secured, that the pins are in there, no leaks out of here. So a lot of leaks, cracks.
Are those safety in any way, the weight, the counterweights?
Yeah. I've never had to take one off out in the field, but they have a cotter pin that goes in and holds it in place. Yeah, because they're just screwed on. You'd be surprised. Come right off. All right. We good with that? I'm good with that. Let's move on. New subject. That's an old subject. You might want to see a doctor, man. That boy's got a medical condition. Oh, he's just thirsty. It's all right. We're waiting. All right, so how about prop governors? I don't know what the next picture will look like. Let me see. Ah, that's the propeller control lever. If it's all the way forward, it is in high what?
RPM.
High RPM. Back is
Low RPM.
forward is high or low blade angle. Low blade angle. Back is high. Okay. That's crankshaft. All right. So now we're going to talk about constant speed propellers. But before we go into constant speed propellers, we're going to talk about what makes them constant speed and how they work. So imagine, if you will, we just took the Hamilton standard we just talked about, which has either a high or a low, and we said, well, now we want something that has a high and a low, but can find a spot in the middle that will hold it right on a particular RPM. So rather than just selecting those two, it's a range. But unlike the Beach Roby, where we select a range, intermediate range, we want something that will automatically select the exact blade angle we want to keep it at the exact RPM, regardless of whether we're going up or down or in a turn or add throttle or pull throttle back to a certain extent. No matter what we do, that blade is just going to continue to change angles. What are you listening to? He's vibing out, man. He's a happy guy. All right, so we're going to do that with a governor. And a governor is going to mechanically sense the engine RPM and then either send oil to the prop or drain it off, just like we talked about with the Hamilton. That's simple. So we're going to take engine oil that has been at a pressure from the oil pump. We're going to put it into a governor that has another oil pump that is going to boost it up to 350 or so PSI, and then run it through its mechanism and through a pilot valve. I'm going to show you how that works. Who's Zach? You guys are getting ready to run your governor. I will tell you now, you will be shocked at how loud they are and how hot they get. So we're going to run your governor on this little stand for not more than probably a total of 5 minutes. It's loud. I mean, you can still talk over it, but it's surprisingly loud, and it will be so hot that you're going to have a hard time holding it. They get really hot. So it's going to take that engine oil up the bottom here, boost it up, do what it's got to do. If it's going to send it to the propeller, it is going to have to go through into the crankshaft and then out the front of the crankshaft. So this particular engine right here is a Continental or Lycoming.
Continental.
Why do you say that?
This is gold.
It's allodyne. All engines are gold when they're allodyne. Cams at the bottom. Therefore, it is Continental. It's Continental. So this is the oil transfer collar right up here. And that is sitting right here. Sitting right there. In fact, that right there is the little, let me see, that piece right there. You can see it sitting right there. And there's a little tube about that tall not big round as my finger, 2 oil rings on it. Just one part goes up into that little thing, the other part goes into the case, and that clamps it on. And then when the case goes on, the case holds it in place, or that actually holds it in place, really. So, and then the other case keeps it from spinning around. And so that's what it is. So the governor is going to put oil right up through here. It goes into this transfer collar. That transfer collar is obviously lined up with a hole in the crankshaft, and it's spinning around that transfer collar. So I point that out to say that remember that there's slippage right there. I mean, there's a gap right there. So you're going to get oil loss out of here. And as this wears, you're going to get more and more loss, and the governor's got to work a little harder and harder. So it's when we talk about on speed, and we can say, well, the pilot valve will then block all the oil into the prop, and it will block, and so no oil's moving. It doesn't work that way. Oil's going to seep out of here. You can't really have a locked on-speed condition. So something's always going to be moving around.
Can you define on speed again?
Well, I'm getting there, but just so in a constant speed prop, you really only have 3 settings. Theoretically, overspeed, where it's trying to correct and give it a higher blade angle. You go underspeed, where it's going to bring the blade angle back flat, or on speed, where it's perfect. And you say, we're perfect, nobody move. The blade angle is perfect, and it's in balance, and we can kind of shut the governor down, just lock the oil in place, and we'll be perfect. Well, it doesn't work that way, because number 1, you got slippage through the transfer collar. Number 2, the plane has moving through air, and it has its own thing. So
it's really just always just either.
I would say it's either.
Speed,
It's always under, just back and forth.
It's like a governor.
It's like a governor, yeah.
Oh,
Except instead of being like a governor, it is the governor.
It is a governor, but I'm trying to like in
what?
a car. If
Why would you have a
on
governor in a
small
car?
engine. Or like on a small engine.
Yeah, like a Briggs and Stratton,
Yeah.
where it's got the little vane that senses the wind and from the flywheels kind of thing.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, but something like that.
Something like
I took one apart and it's flickering back and forth always.
Yep.
Always.
That's what it does.
Is that what I think it is?
What?
Is that 320?
It's probably a 360 because it's constant speed. But I just noticed what.
320 that I put together
The hell is
was
that?
constant speed.
Okay, it might be. Something about that looks. Just something about it makes it
I'm looking at
360.
that
I think it's the
bearing and I'm just
rods.
having PTSD.
I think it's where the rods are. All right, so this is a Lycoming. So Lycoming uses a very large front bearing, and the pressure comes in right about here, and transfers through that hole that's about to show up, and goes into the prop, crankshaft, and out. So there we go. All right, how does it work? The governor, that is.
That's the thing.
All right, so the governor, like I said, is going to have basically 3: overspeed, on speed, and underspeed. And right here we have flyweights. See the flyweights? And so, and a speeder spring. So speeder spring is just a spring pushing down on L-shaped flyweights. And if it's on speed, then centrifugal force on the flyweights will make them move outward. All right? Overcoming the spring tension and moving them outward. So underspeed would be perfectly in equilibrium. The spring is pressing down, trying to drive the counterweights this way, but there's enough centrifugal force that they went right here, right? Because they're spinning around this way. Right? So on speed, the the flyweights are going to look like this. Right? Spring is pressing down on them. If it wasn't spinning, it'd be sitting like this because the spring is pressing on it. So it goes on speed and then overspeed. So overspeed, the flyweights are going to go out like that. And underspeed, they're going to look like this. All right, so everybody with me so far? All right, so attached to these little arms down here, these little legs down here, is a pilot valve. And so it will either lift the pilot, so this right here will lift pilot valve, lift. This will not lift it, but let it, fall, put it down,
Lower.
lower, thanks the word, lower, and this is just kind of in the middle. All right. So if we kind of follow what's going along right here, we've got the prop line, so that's going to go out to the, well, no, it's not going to go necessarily out. It's just prop line. That's why, oops, I shouldn't have done that. It's prop line. So engine oil inlet definitely comes up this way, goes up in here into constant displacement pump,
Yes.
gear-driven pump. And the oil obviously does not go through the middle. It goes around to the outsides where it's now reached a very high pressure. It is going to go up here, and it has two choices. If we were in fact in an on-speed condition, which this should be, then it cannot go this way. It's blocked, so it's going to go to a relief valve, open up this relief valve, which is just a spring and a plunger, and drain it back into here, where it kind of comes back around and goes into a loop. So it just loops around back the inlet side of the pump.
Where does it block it off?
The pilot valve right here.
Valve,
So this pilot valve moves up and down.
valve,
Yeah.
it goes to the new
This
valve.
goes up and down.
Yeah.
Follow? Okay.
Yeah.
Not the best drawing. All right. Now if we,
That doesn't move the gear. That's just a little like.
it's spinning. It's spinning around with the gear.
It's spinning around with the gear, but
Yeah.
it doesn't move the gear actually.
Nope.
It's just like a little cylinder.
It slides up and slides down.
Okay.
The gear
Oh, I
is
see.
connected to an engine drum.
So there's
One piece.
Yeah.
there's a plunger up top and there's like a secondary plunger down below that when it goes into overspeed it pulls it up, allowing oil.
Oh,
to
you
flow.
ruin it. Yes.
All right. It's hard.
Okay. So let's go overspeed. So overspeed, we're going to go this way, right? Overspeed. And it's going to lift the pilot valve up. Now here's the thing. What it does now is going to depend on if it is a single engine or twin. Okay, a single is going to need pressure to high pitch, right? And a twin is going to need pressure to low pitch. So what I say next depends on which one I select. So let's just say I'm going to select a single engine. All right. So a single engine, if I go into an overspeed, that means it's going too fast, and I need to
Reduce your blades, flatten them out.
Uh-uh.
Or, excuse me,
No, you need to
I-
increase
I-
it.
I need more
You need to
pitch.
feather.
So I need pressure to high pitch. It's overspeeding, so then the oil will come up through here, go this way. The pilot valve will lift up, opening up this passage that allows it to go to the prop. Pushing inside of a dome, just like we just looked at a bit ago, pushing the dome, which will push back on the prop, which then has rods that go to the blades. It'll twist the blades and make it go to a high pitch. Now, when it's high enough and I've slowed the engine down enough, counterweights start coming in, go into balance. I'm on speed. All right.
Dropping the blade angle.
Well, it just holds it there.
For on-
In theory, it would hold it.
Hold it.
All right. All right. So now let's look at if we go to underspeed. So now we do underspeed on a single. We're still talking about a single. We go underspeed. Underspeed. So which way these are going to move in?
Inward.
Drop it down.
Spring.
Downwards.
Feeder spring goes downward.
All right, so it's going to drop it down. All right, just ignore the drawing. So it's going to go down. It's going to continue to, well, this would come down and block this, but it would open this up. So the propeller would come, oil would come through this way, and because of centrifugal twisting force, trying to drive the prop to a low blade angle, it always is, but now we're going to let it. So we're going to drain off the oil, and the oil is just going to drain off back into the engine.
Back to the engine.
Okay, so that's underspeed. Now, if we want to turn this around, that was a single. Let's talk about what if it's a twin. So twin engine aircraft. So let's go, what, underspeed, but it's twin.
Just gonna drop it down.
Okay, it's going to drop the pilot. Okay, you have to sort of ignore the drawing. So it's going to drop the pilot down. So now we're talking about a twin, which needs pressure to low pitch. So I'm in an underspeed condition, right? It's still going to drop it, but this pilot valve is made completely different. So that will do what I want. So I need pressure. So now I need pressure. So it's a twin. It's in an underspeed. Pressure is going to come up through here, not through the bypass, and we are going to go pressure to increase. Okay, I can do the same thing. We go into on speed, it's going to block it. Under speed, it's just going to drain it. So you just have to stop and think about, what is this? Now you can do it the other way around. I told you this is a single, so it must work this way. When you do your project in lab, you're going to be given a governor. I don't know what it came off of. One of the first questions I'm going to ask you is
it for a single or
there a single or twin? And how are you going to know?
What the flyweight
Pressure
is.
to low pitch.
Does it go pressure to low pitch or pressure to high pitch? It's just that simple. You figure out counterweights go in, that's underspeed. What's it doing on underspeed? If it's underspeed and underspeed, so the engine's going too slow, you need to flatten out. If it's pressure to flatten out, then it's obviously a twin. If it's drain to flatten out, then it's single. Okay. That was just too easy.
Yeah.
But guess what?
Gotta get harder.
That was it. I mean, it doesn't get, it's,
No.
it doesn't, I got other drawings that say the same thing over and over again. I got drawings that, it goes on and on with the same, I pretty much explained to you. So let's just, we can look at these drawings. Let me see. Underspeed, oil drains from prop to decrease pitch. Okay, underspeed, oil drains from prop to decrease pitch. Single or twin?
Single.
Okay, single. See? Oil's coming in, goes through the pump. It's recirculating. So if it's recirculating, it must be, well, I'm sorry. Well, recirculating, so I was going to say it's on speed, but it's not. So we're obviously under speed. So prop line comes through here and drains out. Notice this little area right here, which is very interesting because this pilot valve is the same diameter as, I can't draw because I'm zoomed in, is right here. So it's like, well, how'd the oil get through it? Well, that's called an annulus. Not an anus, an annulus. It's different. Yeah, a little pocket, a little groove there. So there we go. And of course, the speeder spring controls that. So, well, what is happening? So when the pilot says, I want, this is a hard one. I want lower pitch, you are going to put more pressure on the speeder spring, telling the governor that you are now overspeeding. And the governor just go, oh, we're overspeeding? Okay, flat pitch. So add speeder spring tension. This is the speeder spring.
Underspeeding.
Push it down. Yeah, underspeed. So it's going to flatten out. I think that's what I said.
You said over.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you push it down. It tells it's in an underspeed. It goes, well, I'm just in underspeed, so therefore I'm flattening the pitch out. So more speeder spring, flatten. Okay, now what happens if the speeder spring were to break?
You go in, it acts as if it's overspeed.
It's going to do that.
Because there's nothing to hold the flight.
It's going to send all the pitch to the prop.
So in this case, it's overspeeding. In a single, it's going to add pitch. It's going to bring it into my high pitch, and you're going to have to fly home in high pitch. If it's a single, it's going to go the other way. It's going to bring it to low pitch.
If
If it's a twin, it's
Sorry, twin. No, wait. Overspeed is overspeed. So twin, if it's an overspeed is overspeed. So it's going to high pitch it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's a single or twin.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Um,
told you can get.
if that spring goes out, can you go into feather? Can you say like, hey, I don't want to be in high pitch?
Mhm. Yep.
Just shut it off?
So to go into feather on most props, you have the lever. It's high RPM, low RPM, and there's usually a gate. Lift it up, pull back. Yeah, 310s up and back, right?
So even if that spring breaks, you can still.
Come on, you gotta be my expert.
There's a D10.
Yeah, but I think it's up and back.
It goes up.
Is it over and back? No, because they're locked together. You lift up and back.
I think there's just a D10.
Is there? Okay.
So if
There's
you
always
lose-
something. You don't accidentally do it.
Yeah.
So if you lose your speed spring, you can still bring it out of the high pitch to bring it to the low pitch. You can still kind of control that without
Nope.
the speed if it's broken.
Nope.
No.
It's going to go into high pitch.
No.
I thought you said.
Feather.
Oh.
It's going to high pitch. It's permanently stuck in overspeed.
Mhm.
So it's going to permanently trying to fix that overspeed
Yeah.
condition.
No, I thought you said if the spring was broken, can you
Yeah.
change it? That's
You can
why-
still go to feather,
If you
which is
go-
going to be
if
the
you-
highest
if
Oh,
possible.
yeah,
you
yeah,
just shut
okay.
the engine
Yeah,
off and
no,
go
okay.
into feather.
I thought, oh,
Just
yeah.
be like, I don't want to be in high
follow.
pitch.
Yeah, because what that does is it grabs the pilot valve and pulls it all the way up out of the way. So you physically are like grabbing the pilot valve and going, I'm pulling you up.
Yeah.
So, all right.
It would be the highest pitch.
It's 90 degrees.
Oh, here we go. So on speed.
Oh, so you would just bring it to a. So it would just go from if the speed of springs, if it's broken, right? It goes into a more feather, high pitch angle, so it'd be
So it's going to be high pitch.
high pitch. So how would you bring that out if your spring? How would you control that if your speed
You're
of
not.
spring is gone?
It's high pitch. You have two options.
Mhm.
Fly it that way, feather and shut down.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Tony?
Yeah.
No, okay. Just got to confirm. Are you a CFII in twin too? How many ratings do you have? He just sits back there so quiet and unassuming, but he's got like all the.
Just that and the seaplane.
Okay.
And seaplane.
Yeah. Just,
Singlet.
do we need to cover this more? You seem like you have questions.
Well, I do now because your follow up when you said that you don't want two options, right? You fly it the way it is, high with the high blade
Not this
angle.
way. This way. You'll be moving it this much.
Okay, yeah. That's, I thought this is high blade angle.
No, that's feather.
That's feather.
I'm waffling right now. I had it earlier too. Okay.
Feather is the high blade.
Feather is the highest.
The highest blading.
But I don't want you to call that. We have to get our terminology straight, so we're all
Yeah.
thinking. So your blade doesn't move as much as you think it does, right? Because every degree is how many RPM?
60
Like
90.
60 to 90, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot. So
Yeah.
you're moving this much. Okay, so high blade angle, low blade angle, high, and then when you go to feather, it's all the way this way.
All right. I
That
got
shuts
it.
the engine off. That just.
Oh, it's
So
It's
that was
obnoxious.
My thing, and I was thinking, oh, high blade. I kept thinking, it's rotating this. So I calculated. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm getting high blade.
Yeah.
angle, but I was thinking, again, this and
Uh-uh.
feather. So I'm like, how do you go from this and then feather? So I was like, what? What do you mean? I got it now.
now he brings that up. I honestly, would it go in? I think it might go into feather, wouldn't it? If you broke the speeder spring on a twin, there's no high pitch stop that's going to hold it. It might go to feather. My engine won't. It'll just go to high pitch and stop. But now that I think about it, I don't think there's anything to stop it from keep going. There's no stop there.
So it would just automatically.
I think it would automatically go to feather. It would just keep going. What's to stop it?
Yeah.
It's almost a specific thing. Yeah, it would probably keep going. Unless something comes to mind, it would just keep on going.
Yeah,
That
but
piston-
but when the blade starts to slow down, then those flyweights start to slow down too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're
There's no
stuck in
speeder
overspeed.
spring. There's no speeder spring.
Oh, say, but listen, there's no speed or spring at all, but they might
True.
slow down. There's still weight on
It
them.
was still
Yeah.
coming,
There's actually the weight, just physically the weight of the spring and
bottom
stuff. So it
of
might,
the-
but I don't know how slow it'd have to get.
I mean, we could just kind of fling it.
I guess we're gonna have to just take the 310 out and break the spring and see what happens.
Just take it, cut it.
I'm sure it's close enough. Okay, so again, I don't want to get hung up on that nuance,
I keep saying squirrel chamber.
but he's over on squirrel chambers. All right, and then okay, so this is in and out of feather position. So let me think. In this particular model, what they're doing is they're actually physically lifting up the pilot valve. That's usually what happens. What have we got here? Oh, this is different. Okay, so that's a whole different system. Some of them you actually lift the pilot valve up and hold it, so it does. It's like a stuck speeder spring. So that's why I said that after I thought about it. There are other ones where you have an aux oil line is going to come in and pressurize. See, that's 2 prop, but boy, I don't know about those systems are few and far between.
B-25.
Yeah, we old military planes, so we're just gonna go with the modern that one. Okay. What else I got? There you go. There's your book. I was gonna ask you overspeed or underspeed, but it says right there. So if you can read overspeed. Oh, very good. That would be a
Underspeed.
Underspeed, wow.
Underspeed.
Oh, awesome.
on speed. All
I can't remember what it was like that.
right.
That's a prop governor.
Prop Governor Gasket. We haven't gotten that far yet. How to put them on, where they go.
Jumping
Stretching or
Question.
yeah.
The flyaways, they seem to make contact at the bottom of that section right there. Is that like have something there to reduce friction? Is that,
No, the whole cup is spinning around.
Oh,
okay.
So this piece down here, and by the way, see, notice how the pin is high. Now the pin is low, so you can't really change pivot points.
That's not how it works.
It's just a bad drawing. But this cup spins, and so there's no relative movement between the bottom of the flyweight and this cup. Cup spin, yeah.
Probably also mentioned that there's a cup inside it. It's not one whole piece. Because that makes
Oh, yeah.
one solid.
Yeah, so then the governor body looks like this kind of, and so that's spinning around inside the governor. You'll see. Let me see. Do I have a picture of that?
That whole square.
Oh.
No.
Whoa,
Oh, that's cool.
whoa, go back.
Hold on.
No, not going back. All right, where are we? Adjustments. Oh, prop governors. Jeez. All right. Get your pens up.
E?
Is this 0.6?
Nope, whole new topic. So we'll start 1. Prop governors. Purpose. Purpose. An RPM sensing device which responds to change in engine speed responds to a change in engine speed by directing oil pressure to or from a propeller to change blade angle. A constant speed prop. Constant speed propeller holds the engine at a constant RPM by varying the propeller pitch. So a constant speed propeller holds the engine at a constant RPM by varying the propeller pitch. The RPM will be constant. Regardless of aircraft speed, that's airspeed, or throttle changes. Asterisk.
What exactly do you mean throttle? Because throttle would change the RPM.
No, it doesn't. Asterisk.
Okay.
Shift 8.
Yes.
All right. So
The throttle.
in the air, I'm flying along, and when I reach cruising altitude, I'm going to pull back my throttle to a little less than what I want my manifold pressure to be. So, or perhaps if I've flown high enough, my throttle is all the way in anyway, and I've only got 20 inches of manifold because I'm up really, really high. I don't have a turbo. So at that point, I reach over and I pull my RPM back to where I want it. Let's say 2200 RPM. Now, if I so desire, I can reach over and pull back on my throttle, and my manifold pressure will drop, drop, drop. It will get, the RPM will try and stay the same. So as I'm pulling back the throttle, what's happening is I'm reducing the horsepower of the engine, and that propeller is actually out there flattening out. And my RPM is going to stay exactly the same until that prop gets to its low pitch stop. Then you'll see the RPM start to fall off.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Set your RPM.
The same way that, regardless of aircraft speed or throttle changes, when you exceed the stops on either direction, it is going to change.
Yeah.
So if I reduce my horsepower till it's on the low pitch stop, then it'll start falling off on RPM.
So do you have, so is it two separate knobs?
No.
Like you have your,
It's the prop knob.
yeah.
So for example, I get in the airplane and I start it up,
Yes.
right? I will start it with it in high RPM, low pitch,
Yes.
and the prop will be pretty much on its low pitch stops. And it's going to be on its low pitch stop. And I'm going to bring up my throttle from 1,000, 1,500, 1,700. And I move just a tiny little bit, probably not. And I'll do my run up. It's going to pretty much be like that. And then I, back off the throttle. It's going to stay right where it was, low pitch stop. Taxi out to the runway, get ready to go. Oh, full throttle. That prop's going to move and hold it right there at my red line. Now I'm exceeding that, and the prop's going to come in and go, whoa, okay, red line's coming up. We're going to increase our pitch because I've got so much horsepower at that point. And then as I start to roll down the runway, it's going to give a little more pitch. I'm exaggerating because now we're rolling, just like we learned with the fixed pitch. We've got now the angle of attack is better. We're moving forward, and we take off. And then from there, it's going to do like I talked about in flight.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where to go with that, but hopefully that made sense.
Yeah.
All right. Why? Why do I want this? What's the advantage?
You don't, you can't,
Efficiency.
that's
Efficiency.
Yeah, it's
Detonate.
mostly detonate. Good try. Mostly efficiency. It's one of those things that you don't really think about it until you have to think about it. It's like you just take it for granted. Oh, it's better.
Isn't it for it basically saves you more money, like you say, efficiency, you fly farther, not necessarily faster. But
You have
less
fixed
fuel,
pitch
too.
prop. It's only good in this range. You created a prop that it now works in multiple.
Works in that, yeah. So, and you think about with a fixed pitch prop, you're going to get to an altitude. Remember, you have to keep increasing RPM to keep your horsepower. So you get to an altitude where you're wide open throttle, max RPM, because you're so high to get 75% horsepower out of that engine. But now you're spinning your propeller faster than its very narrow efficiency range, if you will. Right? So now you're going to get more slip. It's inefficient. So now you're just But, you know, somebody explained to me, you know, when I was getting ready for my first major cross country, you know, I sat down with CFI. I'm like, what do you think I should do? He's like, dude, you got a constant speed prop, man. He goes, if you're under 10,000 feet, you're not using it. He goes, get up to 10.5 instantly, or 9.5, and let the prop do its job. That's what it's there for. You have low, less drag on the airframe. Prop takes a bigger bite. You go further, use less fuel. Oh, yeah, makes sense, right? Okay. You tell me if I was wrong, right? Yeah. At least privately.